Okay.
All right, we will call this meeting to order then. It is 5:31. We will start with a roll call. All right. All right, Chair Seth, I'm here. Vice Chair Ned Dorff, here. Alderman Randy Scannell.
Present.
Deb Hutchison.
Here.
Mark Walter.
Here.
Chase Highland.
Here.
And then
Julia and Essie are excused.
they're both excused. All right, and Stephanie not.
Is not present.
All right, not present. All right, moving on to approval of the agenda for June 12th. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion from Alder Randy, second by Ned. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, on to approval of the minutes.
Yes, so now we have a minutes problem.
Uh-oh, we don't have.
Yes,
Hard to second the minutes.
yes. And I'm sorry that they got messed up from the last time. So,
So should we move to hold them over?
yes, let's hold that over.
All right, so there's a motion to hold them over from
Second.
Ned, second by Randy. All those in favor?
Hold on. Okay, all those in favor?
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay.
All right, so we'll just come back to those next month. then?
Next time, yes,
Approval.
since we can approve both minutes.
All right.
Yeah, that's
on-
weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
On to regular business, the discussion with possible action about creating a pollinator corridor working group. I'll kick this over to you.
Thank you. About 8 years ago, I was working with a friend of mine, Nancy Naback, on creating some kind of habitat islands around the city of Green Bay. And we wanted to develop a little plan where there could be enough stopover habitats for pollinating insect species within the city. And so we called it the Pollinator Corridor and started working with the city, working with the school district, with volunteers, private owners, businesses, to start putting in small gardens. Tried to get them so that there was enough within the city limits that there wouldn't be any space more than half a mile apart between habitat areas. We were looking at what would best serve, for example, honeybees in the city, because we were also at that time putting in an ordinance to allow honey production in the city.
Do we have that ordinance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet.
We did. We got the bees and chickens right around the same time. So there was a lot of urban agriculture movement going on back then. Anyway, so over the years, it's several groups have been working on creating habitat within the city. The group I'm most familiar with is the Wild Ones, but there are many other environmental and landscaping groups that are doing this kind of work to create habitat for bees and butterflies. And so I'd say late last year, I was approached by NWTC and UWGB folks to see if we could kind of relaunch this pollinator corridor campaign and really tie into some of the work that the universities are doing and that other groups around the city and county are doing. So I've met with some folks out there a couple times and pitched the idea of maybe they could become a working group folded into the Sustainability Commission, and that we could be kind of a central clearinghouse for people who are doing this work in the area, and include city, but also if there's work being done in and around Brown County to invite those folks in as well. So the idea here would be to create, and you can see it in the agenda in the documents for this item, that, and maybe I'll just read it out loud. It's a work plan, and And it says, as ecological restoration is a stated focus area of the City of Green Bay Sustainability Commission, the Green Bay City Council will task the commission to take the following actions. The first one would be to recognize the importance of native Wisconsin prairie, woodland, wetland, and aquatic plant species. And then there's some sub-items under that. The second one says to establish a Green Bay pollinator corridor working group comprised of commission members, so anyone on our commission who would want to be involved, and also local volunteers. And then there are several sub-items under that as well. And then the third main point would be that we as a commission would recognize citizen efforts to encourage and expand the use of native Wisconsin plant species. But if you have it pulled up now, you can see that there's quite a lot of things that the working group would be tasked with. So I'll just kind of give you guys a minute to read through that.
So it's in the attachment, and it's called 2019-06-12 Pollinator Working Group.
No, there's just one page. There's a lot of PDFs, but there's only one document.
Click on this. Oh, no, it's information here, sorry.
Oh, right.
And there's the last
Yep.
one,
Oh, she had this before, okay.
the docs. The docs.
Oh, this was
The docs. I thought it was a pollinator. How we'd be taking polls.
I only count that for half of the joke. Celestine, I don't know, is there a way to display the?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not having much luck. Yeah, I'm not sure what's.
I have a rain garden, but mine wouldn't be
Working.
on the map then, would it? Because, I
You
mean,
could.
if people just, but I don't think it is.
Well, the idea for the mapping part of the project would be if somebody wants to have their project on a map, that they would tell us to put it on the map. So if you want your rain garden on the map, it'd be on the map.
I want to be on the map.
Well, we'll get you on there. Yeah.
Put your house on it.
Would someone have to
You
check
use
it,
shape
or
to make it look like
to-
you want it.
before putting it on the map, or just
It's
take
all
them?
volunteers, I
It's-
mean,
Yeah, okay.
I would probably.
Yeah, because I could go on the map too.
Yeah, but how, does it matter how big the garden is or anything?
No, I mean, if we look at a large area, like with what we might look at with the Parks Department, and look for kind of wide swaths of unused lawn perhaps, you know, that would be really great, and that would be great to convert into habitat. But
was
as
wondering-
far as like a stopover habitat, it can be a small, tiny little garden.
I was wondering, has the parks been been approached to possibly set aside different parcels in the park to do this?
We, yeah, I'd say those conversations have started, yeah. We've put in some little ones in parks over the past 7 or 8 years. But as far as looking at, are there any large areas? I think like the time that they presented to us, they were open to looking at that, because I did bring that up. And they provided us with several maps for this meeting to kind of take a look at where might be some park area that we could convert. So, yeah, I would foresee the working group kind of doing that kind of work and then delivering that to the commission. But actually sitting down with park staff, I think, would be the working group, and then bringing those ideas to the commission.
Have you talked to park staff about this plan? Are they on board?
I believe Celestine
I did.
did, yeah.
So, the Parks Department, I spoke to both Lori Mean, she came and spoke to us, and she's a landscape architect, as well as Dan Ditchite. And, while they have some interest in this, there are a couple of caveats. Because a lot of these plants would probably need to be maintained in terms of weeding. So they'd want to see them in more natural areas as opposed to, more natural freeform areas as opposed to more orderly planted areas. So, but that's something that the pollinator corridor group would need to work out with the Parks Department. And they did provide quite a few maps. But I'm sorry, I don't know why this connection isn't working tonight, but you do have those in your packet. And for the members of the public, I think there might be some attachments over there on the table. This is really great. Impressive.
I like the colors.
Black and white?
No, not grayscale.
Oh, are you looking on the PDF?
Yeah.
Take your word for it.
Have you, so this is basically establishing a working group and looking at mapping and identifying locations. As a further goal under here, actually establishing maybe some projects. So
Yeah.
initiating some projects as well. And I'm thinking, it's always nice to have something to demonstrate the concepts we're looking at. I think this is great. In fact, I've been looking at some impetus to put a rain garden in my front yard. But I need a bucket, a big scoop to dig through the roots of the maple on that side and the birch on that side. So I've tried putting a shovel in my front yard and I can't do it.
Really? Wow.
Too much clay, too much tree roots, but it's perfect. It's right between two down spots.
Oh.
My sump pump piece right there, and it's like, I need it right there.
So I think a couple maybe of these sub-items might get to that point, maybe not letter F with engaging in removing exotic and replacing them with natives. That's like doing the actual work, the work group would be more than welcome to join a project. Yeah, and funding, and that is one of the folks at GB was looking at hopefully being kind of the grant seeking person for the working group. So absolutely.
Some years ago, I was engaged with a group called Northeast Wisconsin Wilderness Alliance. That
It sounds so familiar. It sounds so familiar.
Yeah, it's something that I formed with a group of people from who were doing sustainability work here, but we were looking at one of the ideas that came out of that alliance was actually looking at large, something that may not show up on here, but large industrial or commercial tracts that are undeveloped that are, a lot of industry holds vacant land for future growth potential, and they mow it.
Yeah.
So we really were trying to find a way to advocate for no mowing stuff, but even beyond that, it may be something that fits into something along these lines, where there's a lot of that. Drive down Broadway, look at any one of the paper mills or one of the manufacturing facilities there, and look at how much land is vacant and manicured, and it's a huge waste of resources. So,
Yeah.
and it fits, it's somewhat even into this kind of concept, in my mind at least.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in terms of that inventory, actually adding something along those lines, not just of existing plantings, but of potential.
Sure. Is there an edit you're proposing to? I think that's probably a good idea. Mapping.
Well, under 2A, you have work with city staff to identify locations where native plant species can provide stopover or nesting habitat for native pollinating species.
It would fit within that.
Somewhat, but it's even potential, it's land that may be not necessarily stopover nesting habitat, but actually potential habitat restoration, I guess is more, what would you call that, de-urbanization. So there's some term I'm not coming up with right now, but you get the gist of it.
Well, yeah, I think ecological restoration is
Yeah.
kind of good catch-all term.
So I don't have a formal modification to this, I'm just throwing out some ideas at the moment.
Okay.
On the, I think it's the first PDF, we got the red splotches, unserviced area. What exactly does that mean?
So I think from the maps, wait,
So is that map?
yeah, just give me a minute to
First
pull
one, I
it-
think.
to pull it up.
Map 2?
It's just taken out.
No, I got it.
Yeah, map 3.
Map 2,
Map, the map 2, I
I
think.
believe. Nope.
It's not map 2?
No.
Shoot. No, I'm stuck. Everything has 4. Okay.
Unserved areas. So so these are from the Parks Department. Let's just say that. Just rotate it. Okay. And so essentially meaning that these are places where there really isn't green space, park, school.
Can I see, like, my computer's just not, can you show me on yours what?
I wish I don't know why this isn't functioning.
It's the catch-up spots.
So those little, the sort of Morse code lines, dots and dashes, those are park areas, and the ones that have the red asterisks are basically unserviced. There isn't really anything. Anything of a park's nature. Neither a park school site, nor a park, nor a greenway.
So that's almost like an unserviceable area.
Not serviceable, unserviced.
Well, would you be able to make a park there?
I don't know about a park, but like I said, it's not just parks, it's also greenways.
So it's within a neighborhood area?
Looks like some of them are.
Yeah, some of them are like, I'm not sure, around Lake Largo, I'm not sure what that is. But anyway, that is what that refers
That
to.
says existing green way
County or state trail, tribal
I mean,
road.
it looks like the Neville Museum is one of them. Oh, no.
No,
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 it'd be
that's
on
south
Shiloh.
of the slip.
Oh, that's the old.
That's near,
Heritage Hill.
nope,
No,
that's
no.
on the other side. And that's Alloway, so we're not concerned with Alloway on this map.
The one on the west side,
The one on the west side is actually.
right by the river, isn't that right by Walnut? On
No.
the west side?
No.
9th Street.
That's south of, exactly, that's south of the slip, south of Mason Street.
Oh, it's the coal piles.
No.
No, the coal
No, it's
piles.
Tank neighborhood, because that's Tank Park right next to it.
Yes.
Oh, so the coal piles are right here?
Coal piles are on the river.
Do this, and do this, no, that's
So,
twice.
so essentially like where Tidy Cleaners is where I think that is.
It's not.
Got that.
So that area,
See,
There's a
this is-
train
that's
that goes
Tank
through that
Park
area.
there.
Oh,
There's a lot of hard,
okay.
there's a lot of hardscape there.
I'm sorry, I'm just like.
Yeah, I'm driving past that every day.
So I think that's where, like I
That's
said, it's
actually
south of the
where-
Mason Street Bridge.
Yeah, that's actually, it's the cleaners.
What the
and
heck?
It's Tidy
their,
Cleaners.
It
yeah.
disappeared. Oh, no.
And,
Yeah, what the?
the
Okay.
bookstore
Never mind,
and
never mind, never mind.
Richard Cranium's is right there.
A lot of hardscape.
Yeah.
There's some industrial there, a little
Fair
further
amount
south of there.
industrial yeah. That's between, so that's between Mason and Third Streets.
There's something in the Astor neighborhood.
Since that's my house right there.
So that's what that means.
That'll be a good question, maybe we can,
That's,
So what could you do?
This is solid residential, these two neighborhoods, there's nothing else. I mean, there's not a vacant lot here, there's not anything else other than residential. in
Right,
these two
so
areas.
basically it's unserviceable, there's nothing we
No,
can do to change that.
not necessarily,
Is there?
but we
Well-
could own RDA property there.
Unless we had, somebody had a rain garden in their property, maybe. Or something.
I guess it depends on I'd have to know more about what these unserviceable.
Unserviced areas.
Unserviced areas
Is what it
means,
says.
because it doesn't seem to be.
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What does that
consistent,
mean?
Unless it's based on the size. I mean, the Hazelwood neighborhood west of 41 is a large residential area with, I guess there are no parks in it per se, but.
Hazelwood neighborhood west of 41.
So west of 41 and.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yes.
actually, so over there is not, right, actually, that's one of the areas of town where there are some concerns from residents that really isn't a park or
Yeah.
greenway.
But again, the size of these areas are inconsistent in some ways. I suppose it's just whether or not that has any type of.
Yeah, who made the squares? Who was,
I mean, this is Beaver Dam Creek through
Right,
here.
those
Or
are
just
all
where?
park, so the Parks Department basically said that these are the park service areas.
All right,
Those
so, yeah.
lines and dots are drawing boundaries around what they consider park service areas.
Okay.
But if you'd like more definition other than what I think is on there, I can certainly get that.
Yeah, I mean, I look at, Colburn Park, which services St. Agnes neighborhood, the Colburn area, and right across Ridge Road are two unserviced neighborhoods.
Mhm.
But those two neighborhoods
Should
are
be
serviced by
alike.
Colburn Park.
Right.
Without a doubt, they're going
Yeah.
across Ridge. If it's on the other side of Oneida Street, yeah, people don't cross Oneida, but they cross Ridge. And there's a much different corridor
Mm.
there. And that's my neighborhood, so I know that area really well.
Mhm.
And Colburn's almost a regional level park here.
Mhm.
That's why I'm looking at this and trying to figure out what that exactly means.
Why is it-
I think it means there's no park within the limits of the
Within-
very
okay.
busy streets that surround it, which is what it looks like to me. Like, they've highlighted all the busiest streets and they've said
And they
in
should-
this area, or if there's four
So they're
busy
basically
streets, there's no
saying-
park in the middle.
Okay, they're basically saying.
That's what that means.
The busy street or the
Yeah.
corridor.
So for our purposes, would we want to try and focus on those areas to try and get pollinators to go? I mean, are those areas that we necessarily want to?
I don't know that these maps actually give us a
Sounds-
baseline of like
They don't tell you
what
where
is
to put
planted
them.
where, and like, there could be something, I think we have to do a lot more digging on the,
Good one, needs to be.
But you can't think.
No, but my dog can, and she does it in the backyard with me all the time. We're planting, she's unplanting. We plant, she unplants.
yeah, but I think that'd be like something the working group could definitely look into. Maybe we do look in each park service area and see if there is something that, exists or not. That could be a cool way to break it up. It's the sizes of these service areas are roughly kind of what we were looking at, so. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I don't know if anybody wanted to speak from the public on this item.
I just had
I'm out.
We could open it up,
We got to open the floor technically if you
Oh,
want to speak.
sorry.
But-
so I'll make that motion.
Would you like to?
I'll second.
Okay, yeah.
There's a motion to open the floor by Ned, seconded by Mark.
Hold on. Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The floor is open.
You please need to state your name and address.
My name is Bryce Zacharias, and my address?
Mhm.
Oh, I live in Alloway, does that matter?
No, but we
Wherever
need
you
your
live.
home address.
Okay, 3120 East River Drive. Maybe a zip code?
No,
Nope.
that's
Okay,
fine.
awesome. I was wondering possibly with these habitats, the application that they can have on, say, like rooftops, to kind of maximize that space in those half-mile like areas, even if they're just small, like those stopping points, or, and that could help like connect private businesses to these projects. I don't know if there's, any obviously there'd be difficulties, with maintaining that, but, I just was thinking about that as a possible option.
Can we have goats in the city? We can't.
Yeah, we can have goats.
Goat?
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
a green roof.
You could grow stuff on the roof and have a
Essentially,
goat.
yeah, or even just like a small, a garden area on like a flat, like, for instance, City Hall's a flat roof, what if there was, one up there?
Mhm.
Just an idea.
Thank you. Do you work for parks?
Yeah, I do, I'm a seasonal maintenance.
Great. Thanks for the idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, my name's Tay Fatke, and my address is 341 Laverne Drive, Green Bay. And,
I'm
so
sorry,
I'm
could
a-
you spell your last name?
Oh, Fatke.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm a farmer, but we're starting up a new chapter of Pheasants Forever here in Northeast Wisconsin, and this is some of the work that we're really doing on large scale, large farms around the area, but also wanted to bring in the possibility of pollinator habitat within the city. So it's something we would definitely want to be working on with, and finding those mid-sized probably spaces too, around the edges of cities and that sort. So really excited about that.
Great.
Yeah.
Alex Bjorklund. It's 1695 Fiesta Lane. Did you need this?
Sounds like a party.
No, I didn't do that.
That's what I say.
Thanks.
So I'm a little bit biased towards invasive species, but I know there was the mention of exotic species, and if this is something that gets taken on by the Sustainability Commission, which I think would be great, seems like a really good initiative, I think. And you mentioned the exotic species, and I think having work groups that not only focus on, getting these things going and getting plantings in and making sure they're maintained or created in the first place if we're working with areas that aren't already greenways, that something like an invasive species work group that works on removing those species before plantings or anything go in would be probably good work. Probably be good to do because those pollinators aren't going to be able to have much of a habitat if it's, gets kicked out right away. So that's all.
Excellent.
Are you still in contact with the parks?
We haven't been as of late. I need to touch base. I think we've all gotten busy as it's turned to summer, so. But I was actually in here a couple of months ago regarding the East River Greenway, and I know that area is just basically entirely invasive species, so it could use some form of restoration, I think, and if you were looking to do native plantings, it would be more than just, throwing seed down. So I just think it'd be important to pay attention to that in these areas.
Are you talking that area right by WPS on that trail there?
I don't believe so. It's just
Okay.
like just north of the KI Center, right off of Mason Street, just south of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm a little bit biased, that's my neighborhood, so.
Yeah.
That's just where I walk my dog. So.
Is your dog a native?
He's a Labrador Retriever, but he's very
Native?
handsome.
That native?
Labrador, Canada.
Native Canada.
Native Canada.
No, it's North America.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah. North America, that works.
All right, any other comments from the floor before we vote to close it? All right, thank you guys.
Actually, if we didn't need to, if he's staff, he didn't need to be.
Well,
But,
but-
right. If in the future, if you ever hear your staff members doesn't have to speak without opening the floor.
Okay. Yeah, this is my first one here.
Yep,
so
yep.
I'm learning as I go.
Yep,
So are we actually, so.
yeah.
All right.
Motion to close the floor?
There's first by Randy.
Second.
Second by Chase. All those in favor? say
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, floor is closed. Is there further discussion or questions on this?
Well, are we looking to form this group and identify areas? And are we looking to, is like there grant money out there for this? Is there, we're hoping to connect with a bunch of people, and are we looking to maybe even initiate like some kind of city, like rebate on your property taxes or something, or some money if you're gonna put in?
I know that Minnesota is doing things like that. I think that would be a separate conversation.
Okay.
But I think it'd be a good one to have. For this, I think just looking at right now, can we get a group of citizens and city staff together to identify areas that we could convert to some kind of a native habitat for pollinators and chase some of that grant money to get that work done. So
I know on the trail, Sergeant Van Enninger Trail, we've been pulling out invasive and planting
yeah.
native.
Yeah, Justin Croning from Stone Silo has been very supportive of helping with these projects at schools.
He put in our rain garden.
Parks. Yeah, yeah. So, I do want to ask Celestine.
Yes.
Just to, and I know we've talked about it, but just as far as members for a working group, what is the proper process for having somebody join that working group?
Sure, I would just say that, you have anyone who's interested, including members of the commission. That could be no more than 4 members of the commission, otherwise it's a commission meeting. And so anyone who is interested, I would just report back the members to the commission and just provide updates, and it can be an ad hoc group. It doesn't have to be created by ordinance.
Why ad hoc? Why not minus hoc?
Because you're
Multiply
a
That's when
hoc.
you
Multiply hoc.
See, I was trying to say a joke too, but he just keeps
He
going.
missed it. Did you hear it?
No, I didn't, I'm
That's why
sorry.
we videotape it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So anyone who's interested is able to just kind of show up and help out at any given work group meeting. Great. Excellent. Well then.
Okay, what are your wishes?
This idea kind of grows on me.
Move to approve?
Second?
Okay,
There's a
so
motion
hold
to-
on. Wait, I'm so sorry. Motion to approve by Ned and seconded by
By Randy.
Randy to
There's a good joke
approve.
in there too.
I think he is closing her own.
All right.
Yeah.
You ready to vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Working group created.
And I want to touch base with each of you, if that's okay, for the meeting.
Cool. All right, so moving on to our last item on the agenda, informational. Do we have any updates from members on any progress to goals or anything interesting to share?
Well, at council, last time, what we had was the asphalt ordinance, and that went through a little discussion, but very unanimously, everybody was on board, so.
Well, it went through to go to the law.
To the law department, yeah, but I mean, if they go through unanimously to the law department, they're on board with the idea, and I think the law department's just a technical, they got to write up the law, and then we'll be good to go.
Cool.
So we just paved that one right over, real smooth.
There you go. Signed, sealed, and delivered.
Signed, sealed, and delivered.
How long will that take?
Legal, as soon as legal comes up with it, they're
But it'll take a
referring
couple
it back to
readings.
us, right? I thought that was the communication,
It would-
is
it
that
should
it would
come
report
back
back to
here.
us, and then we
Yeah,
would
by the
send
July
it,
meeting probably.
No.
and then we,
August.
No, because they just have a new attorney.
yeah,
So-
they've been very shorthanded.
Yeah, so I'm,
Ooh.
it'll take a couple months, I think.
It won't go right back to council then, huh, for a reading?
Well, our communication was that it would come back to us in case we wanted to look it over and then tweak it all or anything, so then.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. And then related to that, I did speak with the folks from Queen, Wisconsin that presented in the additional recommendation to have a resolution to pass along to the state. They're working on that language, so I let them know the preliminary time frame with that, so that should line up just perfectly. Can ideally send those at the same time.
Yeah. There was some concern about how this is, first they wanted to know if the city uses any of those materials and we don't.
Good.
And then they were concerned about, hurting businesses. But I mean, a business does business more than with Green Bay, and if they have those materials, they can go elsewhere. They can peddle them elsewhere. We're not really hurting their business. Just gonna come to Green Bay.
And those businesses can still work in Green Bay.
Yep.
Because the equipment is backwards compatible and
Yep.
it's comparable costs, so,
Mhm.
cool. Great.
Well, as you know, I shared the plan that we adopted for 2050 renewable clean energy goal for the city. Shared that with the school board and superintendent for Green Bay Public Schools to try to get the process rolling for them to look at a clean energy commitment. So it's been good feedback so far.
You schooled them?
Schooled them good. Yep.
Also, I started working on, I brought it up last time, rain barrels for the city, starting to promote that, and I finally got a hold of some info. I want to dig more, but I really want to start pushing that initiative of rain barreling the city.
Cool.
Did you look at what MMSD, Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District would have been?
I just got some of that information now, so I need to dig deeper.
Both my rain barrels are from there.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
My dad bought them, used them, and then when he sold his house, he gave them to me, so they made their way north. They were old, they smelled great when we first put them in, because they were old pickle barrels.
Yeah, cool.
Oh,
yeah.
Related to what we talked about regular business tonight, Matt Creasy from Brown County Parks is, he's basically director. He is willing to kind of come share with us what Brown County is doing with their park system as far as creating habitat, so, and is interested in working with, well, whatever we're doing in the city. Hopefully he'll be able to come present to us soon.
maybe have some money for it?
I don't know if the county will give the city money, but.
No, I don't know why not. They get a bunch of our money.
Another discussion for another time.
Right now, fine.
I have just two updates. So I've acquired the energy usage data for city buildings, so thank you for sending those over, and we'll be working on benchmarking those. So I'm excited to dig into this program that they say is really easy. We'll see if it is, but to see kind of what our energy levels are at and how we can use that information going forward. And then additionally, today I met with somebody from the Midwest Renewable Energy Association. They have somebody working in the area, mostly on like workforce development within the solar industry, partnering with like NWTC. Really interesting kind of big picture for that position. But we had an initial conversation about the Soul Smart program, so they're really excited that we're looking into potentially becoming a gold certified Soul Smart community and making ourselves more friendly for that. So they said they'd like to set up a meeting in like mid-August, so hopefully more to come on that. Other updates?
I met with Lisa Bauer-Lotto, Green Bay Packaging. She's the director of the sustainability there, and I don't have my notes with me, but I can tell you, basically, they have a new mill that's being put up, and their water is going to be 100% recyclable from beginning to end back to NEW and then back to the mill. So that's pretty amazing. Their energy usage, their carbon footprint is way down because they don't use the coal plant anymore, but they're going to be all natural gas, so it's down. It's like 30% of what it was. And their land, they're using the same footprint, the same amount of land, and they're reusing all the asphalt and the concrete, and as much as they can, they're reusing. I'm thinking, I wonder if they would be interested in putting in a corridor, or if they already have something like that.
I think last summer they gave a really cool presentation on that whole new building
Yeah.
in one of the council meetings. It was,
Yep.
that was neat.
Yeah, it is.
Looks neat.
Yeah. Lovely when industry.
Yeah, well, Lisa's a great, she used to be on our
Yeah, she said
solid
she
waste
knew.
board, so Lisa Bauer-Lotto.
A
Sure.
waste board?
Solid waste board.
Solid waste board.
Yes.
I want a liquid waste board.
We talk to NEW Water. I'm sure you can work on that one.
Okay.
Try that.
Cool. Any other updates? Or jokes?
I recycled the pizza box because of what
Because
you-
it's only taken us 5 years to do that.
For teaching
We
me
have
that.
been- We have been meeting with, in the recycling world, we've been meeting with a variety of.
I compost them.
In your backyard?
No, in the bag, that goes to you.
Oh, okay, that's fine, because in your backyard, grease and oils are not gonna do much other than affect critters. They won't, you don't get hot enough to break down.
No, we don't compost in the yard, we compost in the house and then bake, it's bake. and
Yeah, but I mean,
compostable
if you have a
bake, and
backyard
we bring it
composter or
down.
something.
We're not that, I don't know what we do with it, we
You got a garden.
we never, it goes fine, we don't need.
My problem is my compost bin is now starting to decompose because it's been there for almost 10 years. It's made out of wood and, yeah, it's starting to break down.
It
but-
would.
It would over time. But I have been doing a lot more digging into zero waste lately, just because it's become a very critical topic in the world around us, and especially in the world I'm dealing with waste and
No,
recycling.
Chinese don't want to take our recycling anymore.
Yeah, for good reason. I
Right.
don't argue with them. Industry had 5 years of warning before they shut the pipe off, but it has changed things dramatically. China used to take about 80% of the world's, 80% of the world's recyclables went to China.
Do you know,
through January of 2018.
was that tracked, what did they do with it?
What did they do with it?
Yeah.
They had a lot of dirty industry that was using it, but it was causing them problems environmentally because they were getting a lot of garbage mixed in with it.
Mhm.
And essentially what happened is in January of 2018, China instated something they called the National Sword Policy. And the National Sword Policy essentially said they would no longer take scrap plastics or scrap paper from any country in the world. And the Chinese went in and closed down about half of the recycling industry in the country because they did not meet environmental standards. And they stopped taking recyclables from much of the U.S., well, pretty much all the U.S. The remainder of the recyclables that they would take has basically stopped going to them as well because they established some standards for. So when you ship recyclables, you bale them just like a big hay
Right.
bale.
Mhm.
Okay, and there's a contamination rate that's allowed. So you can only have a certain percentage of each bale that's not, if it's cardboard, it can only be so much other stuff.
Mhm.
And the industry standard is between like 3 and 6% of what's in there can be something else. So the Chinese established a rate of 0.3%, which isn't achievable in most industry. The recycling facility in Appleton can't achieve that with our machinery, our equipment, our staff. We can't do it. We'd have to hand pick out every bale of material. It's not cost effective. It effectively shut down China as a market, though, for 60% or so of the world's recyclables stopped.
What do they call it? So.
National Sword.
National Sword.
The first one was 2 years earlier. They had instated a policy called the Green Fence, which basically shut down their markets for a couple of months, and they essentially gave the world warning that we're going to start looking at our environmental policies more stringently. Their goal by 2025 is to clean up their air, their water, their land.
They got a lot of cleaning to do.
And they do, but it's a different type of government. Authoritarian type of government, you can say this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So they shut down their industries, the recycling industries. It had a huge pushback on global markets. We didn't see much of the effect in this area until this year. It took about a year for it to really saturate, but everything is saturated now. So paper, cardboard that we used to sell for $90 to $100 a ton is selling for $40 to $50 a ton. Mixed office paper, we have to pay to get rid of.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Typically, that's the way the market is. We're a little bit more fortunate with our facility and where we are because we have 5 paper mills within 20 miles of the facility, so we can get rid of everything we have to. But there are West Coast ports that can, or communities that have stopped recycling, or stopped collecting recyclable materials.
That's not good.
And we charge to accept materials now at our facility, and we're charging the same for recyclable materials as we do for garbage. So our tipping fee is the same for both now. So it's had a huge impact on the world of recycling. At the same time, though, recycling is not the answer to waste reduction. It's a small part of the puzzle. Right now, EPA figures that 35% of all waste is recycled in some manner. Not, curbside does maybe 15 to 20%. What we do in our houses is a pretty small percentage overall, because there's just too much other stuff out there. So there are a lot of other efforts that we have to start looking at. This is more than I needed to get into it. It's become a very, very pointed part of world ideal and the future that we have to deal with in general.
Well, national sword would be pointed. Sounds cutting edge.
Something there, okay.
So there's a lot we can talk about at a future meeting on zero waste, because that's become a much more acute issue now that recycling is not as effective as it was. But again, recycling has never been the answer.
I don't think it's acute, I think it's ugly.
You think it's
Ugly,
ugly?
not acute.
You need to get that one. Count that
Yes,
one.
fine, I'm gonna count it.
13 now.
He's really good at this. He's recycling old jokes.
Yes, Mark Walter with that.
Nice, on the
We'll
board.
give you one, you're on the board.
Yeah, there you go, yay. See ya.
Good job. Friendliest commission in town.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in my industry, and a lot that I like to see more done.
Yeah.
So,
Now, would we have maybe talk to legal, could we outlaw straws and
No.
styrofoam containers?
No.
The state legislature, 3 years ago, preemptively banned communities from banning styrofoam or plastic plastic products.
they're called auxiliary containers. We could ban straws, but we couldn't ban other plastic bags, styrofoam.
Ban.
Yeah, it's a ban on bans.
Yeah,
There is a
ban.
legislature that's been introduced.
Ban.
It's all Democratic supporters right now in our state legislature to repeal that law. How far it'll go, I don't hold out much hope that it'll actually move forward. But that's certainly probably one of the things I would, of all the things the state has done, that's certainly one thing that we could focus on and advocate for repeal of that, because it takes away local control.
Oh, yeah, well, they've been doing that all kinds of,
For
left and
all
right.
kinds of ways.
Yeah. Repeal sounds up here.
Canada's doing it.
Up here.
Mhm.
It's getting into double digits now, right?
Good job, Randy.
All right.
So future
Yeah.
topic, I don't know if I'll be ready next month or not. It's just too much stuff going on in this world right now.
Yeah.
Ships are coming to town, and I gotta work that plan for that. So.
Oh, I was gonna volunteer for that. Do I talk to you or?
Wait, what time is that thing tonight?
6
started-
o'clock.
Started
20 minutes ago.
Probably be late.
Yeah.
Move
Corey
Move to
told me to
adjourn.
be here there early.
Wait, let me get there. Hold
Second.
on.
Second?
Let me get there. All right. All right.
All right.
We're all adjourned.
Cool.
Cool.
Aye.
Oh,
Oh,
fix those minutes. I don't know what happened.
It looks like April's were saved as May.
Really?
As
Leave
way
the
of,
meeting, don't forget to leave the meeting.
I did.
Yes, please do leave the meeting.